So after many months of grinding leak code, studying for software engineering interviews, and teaching myself how to code, I have finally landed an internship at a FANG company. That's right, I will be interning at Amazon this coming summer in Austin, Texas, and I did that without taking a single computer science class. That's right, I had absolutely no formal education in computer science when I received my offer from Amazon. So if you want to hear the backstory of how I learned how to code, and no, I am not some programming whiz kid. I started programming a little bit over a year ago now, at 18 years old. So it's not like I had been programming all through high school. I started my first semester of college, and if you want to hear the story, hear the background, then please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. In this video, I'm going to be going over the background to my interview study process, as well as learning how to code for the first time while I was studying for interviews. And in the next video, I'm going to be going over the details of my internship interview application season, just the couple months that I spent interviewing with a bunch of different companies and eventually accepting an offer with Amazon. So without further ado, let's get into it. And this story begins just a few months after I started this YouTube channel during the pandemic. So at the time, I actually had no programming experience, nor would I go on to learn to code for quite a few months, but I really want to back up and highlight this period of my life when COVID first hit, because I learned a lot of valuable lessons in this time that would go on to be applied while I was studying for software engineering interviews, and also just the mindset that I acquired was invaluable. So I had an interview lined up with VaynerMedia of Gary Vaynerchuk, and it was for a digital marketing internship. How, official it was a little bit murky. It was really just a call with Gary Vaynerchuk's right-hand man, D-Rock, which I thought, and still do think, that it was a pretty big deal at the time. And the way that I got that call was through bombarding the company with emails and telling them that they were running their Vayner TV YouTube channel wrong, which was relatively aggressive, but hey, it worked and I got their attention. It was the week of the first quarantine that my interview was scheduled for, and obviously because of the global pandemic, it was canceled and rescheduled, and 2 weeks turned to 3 weeks, turned to 2 months, and it was indefinitely postponed. So although I might have not gotten the interview, although I might have not gone on to use all the digital marketing knowledge that I acquired while trying to prepare and make myself valuable to VaynerMedia, I learned at the time that I was more than capable of sitting down in my bedroom alone, teaching myself a skill, digital marketing in this case, and then using the skills that I acquired to get somebody's attention, whether it be a company or a person. And it was really the first time that I had ever done anything major in my life. I kind of, waltzed through high school. I was always a relatively good student, graduated high school with an associate's degree, and so I don't want to sleep on what I was able to achieve in high school. I worked a lot in high school, saved a lot of money, but I never quite thought that I could be anything great until I had that opportunity with VaynerMedia, and even though it fell through, the confidence it gave me, it's still in me to this day. I still believe that I can do pretty much whatever I want as long as I stick my head into a computer and learn it and market myself to the people who can take my career places, and that all starts with Gary Vaynerchuk. So even if you don't go on to learn how to code after watching this video, or you wind up leaving computer science because you just don't think it's for you, just know that you can take the mindset that you acquire while studying for software engineering interviews of grinding leak code, learning how to code, just really teaching yourself and taking your fate into your own hands. That's a powerful thing that you can do in any field, not just computer science. And it wouldn't be until I went to my first semester of college a couple months later where I would start to apply it to computer science. So because I couldn't quite tour that many schools, I kind of just picked a school and a major on a whim during the pandemic and during my senior year of high school. So I chose Seton Hall University, and during my first semester of college, it took about T-minus 2 weeks to realize that I wanted absolutely nothing to do with a business degree. And although I got a lot of good things out of Seton Hall, like understanding the virtue in academia, I had been very resentful towards the education system up until that point, fostered a love for philosophy through the honors program that I was in there, and met one of my best friends. It was pretty apparent that a small Catholic school didn't quite have the opportunity opportunities that I was looking for. And another good thing that happened is I learned a little bit of Python, just basically how to run a for loop and write a program, and that was all I needed to get completely hooked on computer science and programming. So I spent the rest of that semester grinding out like 20 credits because I found the course load very easy. So I took a bunch of credits and still had enough free time to make some YouTube videos, stress about what I was going to do with the rest of my life, and teach myself some Python. And at the end of that semester, I hadn't quite known that I was going to drop out, but it was definitely a thought in the back of my mind, and I decided to spend my winter teaching myself as much, at the time, data science as possible. So I actually wasn't even convinced I was able to go down the software engineering path, because in my head it was too late to switch my major in your first semester of college, which is completely ridiculous looking back. You can switch your major up until maybe the end of your sophomore year, and even if you want to switch schools, if you're going to college and you're confident in the path that you're pursuing, then even if you have to switch it a couple times just to find something that sits just right, none of us can be boxed into a specific major. So you might have an idea of what you want to do, where you want to work, and that can take different forms. Maybe you want to be a business analyst, but you find out that actually you don't like that too much, but you do like parts of it, so you go into product management or economics or all these different things, and looking forward to generate a goal for your future. Think of kind of who you want to be and what features that consists of, not necessarily, oh, which major do I pick to get that surefire job, because half the time the major that you graduate with isn't exactly going to translate to what you do for your career. So don't stress like I did in the first semester, but pick a direction and work towards it. That's a major lesson that I learned at Seton Hall. Up until then, like I said, I resented the education system. I was also pretty much a B student, and at Seton Hall I dedicated myself to getting as best grades as possible, and it kind of paid off. I really enjoyed the grind, the hustle, seeing how far I could push myself, and good things came from it. At the end of winter break, though, after having fallen in love with computer science and not data science, I realized that Seton Hall probably wasn't the school for me because they had a very lackluster computer science program, and just 40 minutes away from my house in the state of New Jersey is Rutgers University, a top-tier computer science institution with all of the opportunities that I could ask for, and I wound up putting in my application to transfer there. There's a problem though. You can't exactly get into a school the week that a semester is starting, so I wound up having an entire semester off to do absolutely nothing. So I laid on the couch for a few months and smoked a bunch of weed and had fun. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I still felt a ton of pressure to keep working, keep progressing, keep learning computer science, and I wanted to learn data science, and I'm still very interested in data science, but I actually came to the conclusion over the winter that there was a lot of math associated with data science that I was not quite prepared to teach to myself. And as a general note with computer science, I think you can teach yourself software engineering, but when it comes to machine learning, some of the more abstract concepts, that a formal education system, a formal class definitely comes in handy, and that having that mathematical background, while not necessary for front-end web development, for example, when it comes to things like machine learning, is vital. And if you don't have that math background, you're going to be at a major disadvantage in trying to teach it to yourself, opposed to learning it in classes the way that I did this last fall semester. So I kind of took the lesson that I wouldn't be able to study data science super in-depth without going to university, and dedicated my spring break to learning the fundamentals of software engineering. So that took form in a few basic projects: an A-star pathfinding visualizer, which utilized mostly front-end web development, a REST API, which was me getting the foundations of back-end web development, as well as a ray tracer, which really deepened my knowledge of both Python, the language that I programmed it in, as well as computer graphics, and was really the first large-scale project that I built using a book, actually, the Ray Tracer project. I think that should be linked in the description. On top of these projects, I knew what I had to do in order to get a good internship, and that was LeetCode to prepare for interviews. I also used Algo Expert. Shout out to Clement Mihailescu, if I hopefully pronounced that right. And studying, honestly, was pretty brutal at first. I had no idea about data structure and algorithms, so I took a couple of weeks off to read front to back a data structures and algorithms textbook that covered all the basics that I needed in order to understand what the hell was going on in these LeetCode solutions. And you can kind of start to see now that although I had not taken a formal computer science class, I had put months of time into teaching myself how to code and grinding and holding myself accountable in ways that I don't know I necessarily would have in just a normal intro to computer science course, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, you meet the bar for an A and that's it. In these few months, I was really pushing past any bar that a university would have placed for me. So I didn't know, what was good progress to make in learning how to code. So I just went as hard as possible, as fast as possible, and it turned out that my personal capabilities, when completely unhindered from any understanding of how fast people normally make progress, was pretty damn fast. I applied to a software engineering internship locally, a local tech company, actually through a connection that I had at Seton Hall. So funny enough, the university that I left would go on to get me the software engineering internship, and at Fusion Health Technologies, I spent my summer learning basic backend in C# as well as more React in the front end. So that summer I continued to study LeetCode as well as really focus on being the best I could possibly be at my internship and learn as much as possible about not only how to code, but also what it means to be a software engineer, what it means to work in industry, and what to expect from internships in the future. Without this first internship at a local tech company, I have to admit I don't think I could have gotten into Amazon. So although I didn't take a single computer science class to get my first internship, and by the time I accepted Amazon, I also had not taken my first computer science class, I had spent months grinding LeetCode, learning how to code, spending time in a local tech internship, and all of that was much more educative? Is that a word? Anyways, it taught me a lot more than any year as a first-year computer science student would, when you normally take, a bunch of general elective credits, as well as intro to computer science, data structures, maybe Calc 1 and 2. The first years of computer science is honestly pretty slow, so I think having this semester off wound up being a blessing in disguise, because it really let me get a jump start on my software engineering and computer science education. I have another video about my internship, I have a video about the spring semester, I have videos about my philosophy on college, which is constantly changing and evolving, so I'm sure there will be another video coming out shortly, not only about whether or not you should go to college, but if you do go to college, how you should treat it. It's something that I think about a lot, so if you're interested in those things, then please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And in that summer, I grinded more LeetCode, had a bunch of fun with my friends, and applied to internships. One of those applications happened to be the Amazon, and that interview process will be saved for another day. So please, again, like, comment, subscribe. I am weirdly growing, even though I haven't posted in a few months. It is my, I guess you can call it a New Year's resolution, even though I hate the philosophy of New Year's resolutions. So hopefully I'll be posting a video every couple weeks or so and really get the process for producing videos down to more of a science, instead of just kind of willy-nilly placing my lights in my bedroom, setting up my camera, and editing on that old computer back there. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.